Hi there viewers, I'm the Extraordinary Tourist and welcome to part 7 of my diary series following the creation of my artwork, The Three Wise Colour Monkeys. This is the final episode in the series because I've actually managed to complete the painting this week. As you'll see in this episode, I just put in the sort of finishing touches to the painting with mostly just fine details and adding a bit of extra shading. So without further ado, let's get on and into watching the final stages. So at the last stage I'd gotten pretty close to getting this painting finished. At this point I'd done most of the shadows and light areas on the red and the green monkey, and I still had the light areas on the blue monkey to do, so that's where I started with this one. I was generally just mixing up the light blue and then trying to decide where to put it on the monkey. Now I was also using the light blue to get better definition on some of the monkey's body parts, particularly his fingers and toe areas, which still not quite as well defined as they could be. Although at the same time, in the final painting, they're probably not as well defined as they probably could be if I really wanted to work into this painting and get these characters looking a lot sharper and a lot more like a cartoon and a lot less sort of painterly. But to me, part of the charm of doing a painting is to not get all those edges completely straight and all the forms completely defined. It's more how it looks overall when you sort of stand back and look at it, and does it achieve what you set out to achieve and do all the parts read as they should, rather than how they look if you really examine them up close and look at things like whether the proportions are exactly right or whether the limbs on the various characters are actually in a position that is comfortable. So for example, if you look at the red monkey there and those legs, which, as you know if you've been watching these diary episodes, were completely improvised from the original sketch. His right leg, which is the one on the left in the painting, could possibly be a bit twisted in an awkward way that would be probably a little bit uncomfortable for him if you really think about how that red monkey's legs are, but overall it looks okay. It's not so out of place that you think about it unless I've pointed it out to you, as I just have. But for general viewers, I don't think they'll think too hard about it, and anyone who's sort of examining the proportions that closely anyway is probably looking into my work a bit too much, because if you go through a lot of my paintings, you'll notice all kinds of things that are out of proportions and not correct, that if I wanted to I could have gone in and fixed right back at the sketch stage or at any time as I was painting it, but I don't, because to me it's not really that important to get everything exactly right. It's more how the overall picture looks and feels and whether it achieves the result that I set out to achieve. So anyway, you can see here I did a bit more work on the red monkey's highlights, getting a bit more lighter pink in there, and after that I was sort of feeling like it was close, but I felt like it needed some actual blacks in there, particularly for the monkey's pupils and the insides of their noses. But I didn't use a lot of black after that because pure black is not really something you tend to see a lot of when all you're dealing with is shadows, unless you're actually looking something that is actually coloured in black. You don't usually see a lot of really pure blacks in scenes anyway, so I just did the eyes and the nostrils to sort of focus your attention in on those areas in a pure black and left it at that. And then I sort of broke out with the white and did the really white highlights, which helps to do things like further define the fingers on all the monkeys' hands. And all of these monkeys have pure white highlights in their 3 strands of hair, and so I did that as well. And of course adding small highlights here and there. You can see I added a bit too much highlight to the red monkey's tail and had to rub some of that out. Doing the red monkey's feet. So this stage it really is just sort of going around and picking out things to put in the highlights and seeing what I want to define more, because adding these white areas is almost like adding an outline to certain parts of the characters without actually outlining them completely. It just tends to draw your attention to those areas. It's sort of important not to overdo it, otherwise characters will sort of start to look like they're glowing as they get too much white highlights on them. I just sort of keep going and keep adding highlights to where I think they should be. So on top of that, the white usually helps make the final artwork pop a bit more and seem a bit brighter. So there you go, just adding in my signature and removing the tape that I put on the artwork so that I didn't have to worry about going off the edge of the painting. And this tape adds a nice frame to the finished artwork so that if you're hanging it on the wall, you can either hang it as is with the white frame, or you got a bit of room there if you wanted to add a frame and a mat yourself. So there you go, that's the finished artwork. So there you go, I hope you've enjoyed watching me create this particular artwork. If you haven't seen the previous 6 episodes, by all means go back and watch the previous videos. In them I sort of go through my process and tell you a bit about each stage as I go along. From here I do plan to release one more video based around this artwork, which will show sort of a speed paint of the entire process from start to finish, and we'll have possibly a bit of commentary about it, but won't go into the creation of the artwork in quite so much detail as what these diary entries have. The painting itself will be available for sale early in the new year, in January of 2018, and I will be making prints available in my Redbubble shop, and more than likely I might even do a version that goes onto a skateboard deck as well. So as I said, this is the final entry in the diary, these diaries for creating this particular artwork. I do plan to start a new artwork very soon, and as with this painting, I'll do diary entries for that. So that's it for this one. Until next video, thanks for watching.